Hello viewers and welcome to another match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today we enjoy a top 16 featured match of the spring 2016 season of Sam Mann's Black Crusade, his online Conquest LCG competitive league. Both of our players are currently deciding whether or not they want to keep their respective opening hands, and this is a ton of neutral cards, good god. At the bottom of our screen, we've got OCTGN user goboxel. He's running Ku'gath Plaguefather, and up at the top, we've got elmios, who is playing as Chaplain Mavros. Looks like goboxel decided to keep, and elmios instead is pitching 3 copies of Promotion, a Void Pirate, and a No Mercy. So let's go ahead and take a look at Chaplain Mavros' hand. Note that planet number 1 is going to be Taurus, which rewards. It's a prospective victor with their choice of 3 cards or 3 resources, provided they've got a lower unit count. And I suppose, considering this is Chaos versus Space Marines, both of them kind of run a higher-ish cost curve. Looks like Ku'gath is maybe elite heavy, so this could be anybody's planet number 1, but Mavros does have initiative. So, Mavros' opening hand, he could use all 7 of his opening resources on a copy of the Sword Brethren Dreadnought. Its Unstoppable is to trigger planetary battle abilities. He's also got a handful of Space Marine tricks, Crushing Blow, Indomitable, Eager Recruit, and a Vow of Honor to boost his attack value. The Black Sword could provide shielding for him, and then his only economy unit is really going to be this copy of Sanctioned Psyker here. And at the opposite side of the screen, Ku'gath, his opening assortment of cards is going to be a fair few economy units, a couple of copies of Ku'gath's Nurglings that might be great if you can convince the enemy's Warlord to take a bunch of damage. Ku'gath, of course, by himself is going to be fantastic in a one-on-one context, and planets 3 through 5 are blue, which is going to afford Mavros the ability to wound a friendly Space Marine unit in order to increase its attack, and that can work for Mavros, and I suppose it's something like that where Mavros could potentially buff his attack value to such an extent that he might be able to beat Ku'gath in a one-on-one battle, despite Ku'gath's ability to kind of shrug damage off of himself and move it on to enemy units. Looks like at planet number 1, we've got that copy of the Sword Brethren Dreadnought. Unfortunately, it's not sitting atop a blue planet, so it's unlikely to be damaged by our Space Marine player or by the Chaos player, so it's probably not going to be able to trigger its Unstoppable keyword to trigger, say, Taurus during the deploy phase, and then trigger Taurus again, provided that this 5/6 wins a battle at that planet. But let's see what Ku'gath does. elmios doesn't have any resources left to do anything, so even though he's going to be able to trigger Taurus to presumably, I guess, generate some resources for himself, because he's got a whole lot of cards that he's going to really struggle to fund, it's all going to be up to Ku'gath here. So Ku'gath has got 7 resources. We could see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could potentially see Ku'gath winning command on like 4 different planets, depending on where exactly Mavros decides to go. The earliest possible victory condition we could see for either one of these players is going to be at planet number 3 through green strong point type icons, or alternatively we could see a win at planet number 4 through red. So where exactly is Ku'gath going to go, and where is Mavros going to go? This is all going to be up to goboxel to decide where exactly he wants to play economy units, where he wants to send his Warlord. The healing planet would be like a safe trigger for Ku'gath. I don't think that Mavros, well, I guess if Mavros were to ping himself up to 4, then he could easily bloody Ku'gath. So this is going to be interesting. Karnath is going to be planet number 4, which could trigger the battle ability of any other planet in play, which could be Elwith, or it could be Ossus 4 to steal resources or fetch cards. But goboxel is taking a moment to decide on his opening deploys, so why don't I pause the video and let's see what he decides. Alright, so it looks like the plays start to come. We've got a copy of Splintered Path Acolyte put out to planet number 3. Mavros could quite handily kill off that unit, but I suppose provided that is the case, If Mavros does show up at that planet, all he's going to have the opportunity to do is trigger the battle ability that is healing here. Looks like Elmios already passes, and at planet number 4, we've now got a copy of Possessed. I wasn't expecting to see that quite this early, but that is going to be monumentally threatening to poor Chaplain Mavros there. We now have a copy of Corrupted Teleportarium. You can move an elite you control from a blue planet to another planet, so we could see the Possessed hunt down this copy of Chaplain Mavros. Mavros does have a copy of Indomitable in hand to be able to essentially block this swing of 9. But I suppose wherever Mavros is going to go, like Mavros is presumably going to be winning command at planet number 1, and that'll be the resource he needs for Indomitable. But it looks like we've got a Void Pirate at planet number 2, we've got a copy of Slith Mercenary at planet number 5. If Mavros goes to, like, let's say planet number 5, the Possessed could hunt him down. He'll only have that one resource to use Indomitable once, and if our Chaos player is going to be, let's say if Ku'gath goes to planet number 3, that could potentially be 4 or maybe 5 cards won by Ku'gath, and if he comes across shields, then this Possessed could be relatively resilient in the face of Chaplain Mavros attacking him, and I'll just be curious to see how this goes. Mavros does have a copy of the Black Sword, which is a 2-shield value card. He's got Vow of Honor for in case one of his units survives damage, but with an attack value of 9, the prospect of surviving an incoming attack might not be so great. So let's see where exactly our players decide to send their warlords in this very interesting match. Ku'gath is going to go to planet number 2, and he traps Chaplain Mavros at a non-blue planet. So that is going to be a hell of an economy showing for our Chaos player. That is going to be a total of 4 cards and 3 resources for Chaos, including a copy of Backlash. We've got Rogue Trader, Void Pirate, Promotion, the Core Set Power Trio, and then of course, like I said, that copy of Backlash, which affords you the opportunity to cancel battle abilities, or not battle abilities, but say effects that target elite units you control. So let's see here. We've just got 1 card, 1 resource for Chaplain Mavros. He got another economy unit that may end up being pretty valuable. But we're going to be seeing a combat at planet number 1, and it's looking like this Sword Brethren Dreadnought is going to be just winning that planet. It'll give him, Elmios will have the choice of either winning cards or resources, and that's going to be a couple icons added to his victory display. So I presume he's going to go for resources just because he's got so many cards, but all the same, he may go for cards just because he doesn't really have any kind of reasonable combat units. So we've yet to see the battle ability trigger, and he only did have those 2 units. So I will just go ahead and say no Taurus trigger, question mark. Just because I don't want Elmios to be, you know, at such a gigantic advantage there. Or disadvantage. Okay, yeah, so Elmios collects his resources. It's pretty important to remember that. That would radically alter the remaining trajectory of the game here. So Chaplain Mavros just decides to use his first combat action to retreat from that planet. Elmios did collect 3 resources. And maybe it's, you know, my bad for interfering in this game, but for this top 16 single elimination match where the victor moves on and the loser does not, I don't want anything silly like a, you know, first round mistake like that coming back to bite Elmios in the ass. So Ku'gath is going to be able to trigger that +1 resource for him, -1 resource for his opponent. We see an HQ phase. That's 2 cards, 4 resources for each of our players. Yavharn is going to be our new 5th planet. Looks like we got a copy of White Scars Bikers and Righteous Initiate for Mavros, so he's now sitting on 7 resources and 9 cards. He's got a fair few combat units that he might end up putting into play. Goboxel, conversely, is down to 7 resources, 7 cards, as he lays down yet another early game economy unit, this time positioned at planet number 2. That healing planet, very low value for him to send Mavros here. Mavros' movement is going to be constricted owing to the presence of this 7-cost elite in his HQ, but whatever planet he sends Mavros to, he's likely to end up winning because of the Sword Brethren Dreadnought, and of course the first time each round that the Dreadnought is assigned damage, which could be by Mavros himself thanks to his action there, you're going to be able to trigger the battle ability. So that could be Mavros showing up at planet number 4 and pinging the Dreadnought. He gets to look at the top 3 cards of his deck, then he kills the Slith Mercenary, wins the battle, has another opportunity to look at those cards. The earliest possible win for Goboxel at the moment is going to be if he picks up, let's say, planets 2 through 4, so it's looking like this may be a little bit longish game. We've got all 3 copies of Ku'gath's Nurglings in Ku'gath's hand, and do bear in mind that the Corrupted Teleportarium is still going to be a monumentally threatening presence. We could see the Possessed relocated to a planet to kill the Sword Brethren Dreadnought, but of course, Indomitable is just as able to protect a Dreadnought as it is a White Scars Biker or any other Space Marine unit. So we see that copy of Righteous Initiate put out to planet number 1. Looks like Mavros might be trying to win this game as early as possible, because if he manages to take planet number 1, planet number 2, that could be the victory for him. He's got a lot of devious tricks up his sleeve that he could use to his benefit, I suppose, like gosh, at this healing planet, he could have Mavros ping himself once or twice to 3 or 4 attack value and then trigger Vow of Honor, and then Mavros himself could swing for 6 or 7 through 1 attack, and that would be enough to kill a Possessed, provided that he's got Indomitable to run cover for him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Mavros manage to steal this win out from under Ku'gath in relatively short order. We'll just kind of have to see how things go, and if, on the off chance Goboxel loses, hopefully he doesn't hold any kind of grudge against me for reminding his opponent to collect that battle ability here, but I suppose that's perhaps part of the assumed risk of having this game featured on the channel and having, some loudmouth like the Hive Tyrant participating in your game. But Elmios lays down a copy of Sanctioned Psyker. Where exactly is it going to go? We've now got a copy of Void Pirate at our 5th planet, played by Ku'gath. So it's going to be a card and a resource for him. The Sanctioned Psyker could nicely shut down this copy of Rogue Trader at planet number 2, but I'm kind of thinking that's where Mavros' destination is going to be if Mavros does not decide to send himself to planet number 1, just to ensure that he's going to be able to win at this planet and steal a resource there from his opponent. So Sanctioned Psyker is played opposite the Slith Mercenary, but it's going to be a 2-cost card, tying command with a 1-cost card, so that's still looking pretty good for Goboxel. He's going to drop a copy of Incubus Warrior at planet number 1, where he naturally does have initiative, and I'll just be curious to see if Possessed ends up being relocated to this planet, if Ku'gath Plaguefather shows up at this planet. I suppose I wouldn't be terribly surprised if either of those ended up being the case. What kind of stinks for Ku'gath, though, is he's got initiative. He could have the, let's say if Mavros shows up to planet number 2, you could have the Void Pirate attack the Righteous Initiate, which does not trigger its Unstoppable ability, and then it attacks something for 1, and then you can load it up with damage, and then it doesn't matter if it gets that +2 attack value bonus if it's not actively attacking you. And even though that does persist until the end of the phase, if you can work around it, then absolutely great. And just remember, with this Corrupted Teleportarium, even though it can move elites from blue planets to any other planets, if those elites show up at a non-blue planet, then they're likely to be stranded there until they end up swept into a Warlord retinue. We've got Rogue Trader at planet 5. We've now got a promotion affixed to that Void Pirate opposite the Rogue Trader. And it's looking like Ku'gath is going to be spectacularly set up to absolutely crush Mavros in regard to command. So it's all going to come down to, is Ku'gath going to be able to win so much economy that he can create some big discrepancy to beat the powerful Chaplain Mavros? Looks like we've got a copy of the Black Sword affixed to this copy of the Righteous Initiate. And what's really interesting about this effect is it's whenever the attached unit is declared as a defender, as opposed to after it is dealt damage by an attack, so this is better than the repulsor impact field, and Incubus Warrior is going to be outright destroyed through this effect unless we've got a copy of something along the lines of like a 2-shield value card, so it'll cost a 2-shielder each and every time just to preserve whatever unit is attacking into this Righteous Initiate. But we've got a Ku'gath's Nurglings at that planet, so it could wound Chaplain Mavros if he shows up at that planet, and the same thing for the Sword Brethren Dreadnought, but the Sword Brethren Dreadnought will activate that battle ability straight away if it's assigned damage. Even though that damage is going to be prevented thanks to Unstoppable. And do we see another? No, the Nurglings are going to be played out to planet number 4. So it looks like Elmios has passed. He does have some tricks in hand, but let's see where exactly our Warlords are looking to go. At the moment, it's going to be command on each and every planet 1 by Ku'gath, unless Mavros shows up at like 2 or 3. I assume Ku'gath is going to be arriving at planet number 1. He'll take a point of damage from Ku'gath's Nurglings, but he'll be able to move that damage onto the Righteous Initiate, and moved damage, of course, does not count as assigned damage, so I'll be really curious to see how this ends up playing out. I'll go ahead and take a look at Elmios' hand, because he's got much more interesting effects. Just remember that this Possessed, thanks to the Corrupted Teleportarium, could move at any point away from that planet. Very interestingly, it looks like Mavros might attempt to kill off this copy of Possessed. Mavros is going to end up winning a card and a resource for himself, and let's see how many units this copy of Righteous Initiate manages to kill. It's going to be a total of 1 card and 1 resource won by Elmios. He gets a copy of No Mercy to cancel the effects of shields. Rather interesting Space Marine inclusion, and that's going to be 5 cards and 4 resources for goboxel, which includes a copy of the STC Fragment, a unique 1-cost support relic, which decreases the cost of elites. He's now got 2 copies of Backlash. I don't exactly know if that's going to come back and bite him or not, but it's certainly interesting, and we've also got a copy of Archon's Terror, which could handily remove this Righteous Initiate from the first planet. But we'll have to see how exactly that ends up going. We're going to be seeing combat at the first planet. I suppose Mavros is naturally going to have initiative. He could do the effect where he increases his attack value up to 4 by pinging himself twice, and then he could add a Vow of Honor on top of that, attack for 7, and even if we were to see Ku'gath discard his signature banner, which would, in general, be a poor life choice to do so, Mavros could swing for 7, and that would be a dead copy of Possessed, and I would not be tremendously surprised to see Mavros do that, or Mavros could just ping himself once. He could ping the Dreadnought once, and then he could still swing for a total of 6, kill the Possessed, and then the Brethren could trigger Karnath's ability, which triggers any other planet, and then he'd win the battle, and then he could trigger any other planet once again. So Ku'gath had arrived at planet number 1. That's going to be a copy of the Ku'gath's Nurglings there. Ku'gath has taken a point of damage, and it looks like I am somewhat incorrect, so let's see what exactly is going to be happening here. Ku'gath's Nurglings delivered an attack of 1 onto the Righteous Initiate. The Righteous Initiate has been buffed by this copy of Vow of Honor, so it's currently going to be swinging for a grand total of 7, unless, of course, goboxel is going to use, like, spoiler alert, I'm almost certain he's going to use this copy of Archon's Terror to remove this unit from the planet. The Ku'gath's Nurglings attacked for 2. It's going to be decreased by 1. Okay, so Archon's Terror removes it from the planet. The Ku'gath's Nurglings attacked for 2, Unstoppable triggered to prevent 1 point of that damage, and Vow of Honor was used, and then the Ku'gath's Nurglings was only dealt 1 point of damage because of the Black Sword, thanks to promotion being discarded as a shield. So Ossus 4 is going to be captured. That's going to be, well, I guess it's not going to have a battle ability that can be activated since Elmios has no resources left after that Vow of Honor. Under normal circumstances, that would be stealing one resource, but now let's see what's going to happen at Karnath. Looks like Mavros deals himself a point of damage. He's going to have the opportunity to swing for a total of 3 points of damage. Looks like Mavros deals himself another point of damage, and this is a bit of a shame that we're not going to be seeing the Sword Brethren Dreadnought's ability triggered, but Mavros is going to be able to swing for 4. We've only got a copy of like 2 backlashes and a promotion, which will be able to preserve the life of this possessed here, and I suppose we don't actually have enough resources to play an Indomitable. So, is this going to be Chaplain Mavros outright bloodied by the possessed? Crushing Blow. Well, I guess we've got a copy of Crushing Blow, so it's going to be 4-1 plus Crushing Blow, but deal 1 unpreventable damage to that unit. We could see Backlash used to cancel a Crushing Blow, which is going to be very interesting, and if that is the case, we're going to be seeing a bloodied Chaplain Mavros. So, Backlash is when your opponent triggers an ability that targets an elite you control, cancel its effects, and Crushing Blow quite clearly reads deal 1 unpreventable damage to that enemy unit. The damage is coming from Crushing Blow, but interestingly enough, it looks like that copy of Possessed is going to be removed from the planet, and unfortunately, like, I've got information that of course goboxel is not privy to, but it is an absolute damn shame that he's basically missing an opportunity to either just outright kill this Dreadnought or bloody Chaplain Mavros. So definitely a bummer that we saw that occur. Karnath is going to trigger Iridial, and that is going to be Mavros expunged of damage, and that Sword Brethren Dreadnought is now going to be set up for the following round as a 5/6 at a planet where Ku'gath is definitely going to be loath to send himself to that planet. So we're about to see another HQ phase come and go. That's 2 cards and 4 resources for each of our players. Another couple of copies of promotion for Elmios. And man, it is just promotion city today. I suppose let's see what our players have got to work with. We have another copy of Corrupted Teleportarium. It's a bit of a damn shame that Ku'gath does not have access to more elites because he's got his STC fragment. He's got his copy of Backlash, well, 2 copies of Backlash, Splintered Path Acolyte even. So what exactly are we going to see here? We've got a green icon for goboxel. If he wins at planet number 1, that's going to be another green icon. If he wins at planet number 4, that's going to be a third green icon for him. Planet number 5, our final planet to be seen for today's game, is going to be Planum, which allows you to move a non-warlord unit of your choice. And for Elmios, I suppose, what could he do? He could win planet number 1 and 2, and then that would be an opportunity for him to win through red icons. So, I suppose it could really be anybody's game at this point. We've got a copy of White Scar's Bikers set up at planet number 1. If a warlord is present at that planet, they're going to be able to attack for 4. And once again, Indomitable and Crushing Blow are definitely going to be factors worth considering. We've also got a copy of No Mercy, so it could be the White Scar's Bikers swinging on initiative alongside Chaplain Mavros for 4 or 5 or 6, depending on Mavros' ability. And that could be a very dead copy of Possessed here. Mavros, during the deploy phase, could deal a point of damage to the Sword Brethren Dreadnought to have it activate Karnath to draw him his choice of 3 cards off the top of his deck, or we could see Planum relocate the Sword Brethren Dreadnought from planet number 2 to planet number 1, or we could see that occur during the command phase, so certainly there are myriad options. We've got another copy of Corrupted Teleportarium in play, and now I'll just be very curious to see what exactly happens with the Sword Brethren Dreadnought, because being able to move a 5/6 is definitely nothing to, scoff at or laugh about. Very powerful unit, very powerful, kind of card interactions here. So, at planet number 3, we've got a copy of Sanctioned Psyker, now promoted. 4 command icons, definitely beats 3. Elmios has now passed. He's got 1 resource going into command. And where exactly is Ku'gath going to set himself up? At planet number 1, he might end up being dealt a fair bit of damage from the White Scars Bikers. I guess let's see here. The Righteous Initiate is going to be following Chaplain Mavros. If it arrives at the same planet as Ku'gath, if Ku'gath can move a point of damage onto the Righteous Initiate, that outright kills it with no opportunity for the Black Sword to trigger. So I'll be really curious to see what exactly is going to be happening during combat. Again, the economic spread of Ku'gath is going to be pretty strong. Ku'gath is either winning at every planet or tied, like both players are tied at 2, both players are tied at 3. Ku'gath is currently winning at 1 and 4 and 5. So if Mavros, I suppose I would not be tremendously surprised to see Mavros arrive at planet number 1 just because he can move his Sword Brethren Dreadnought to that planet if he wants to do so. And of course the planet under contest is going to be the healing planet. So even if your Warlord ends up taking 6 points of damage, you're going to be able to have the opportunity to heal all of that damage away. Ku'gath is going to be arriving with a lot of units. The Ku'gath's Nurglings, I guess it's going to be up to, like, if Ku'gath goes to planet number 1, we're going to have to see goboxel shield his Ku'gath's Nurglings, because that's going to be a lot of forced effects all occurring simultaneously, and the player with initiative gets to determine the order in which all of those effects resolve. So we may well see the Ku'gath's Nurglings deal a point of damage to the Void Pirate, the Incubus Warrior, then Ku'gath, and then the Nurglings will threaten to kill themselves, all prior to any damage being assigned to Mavros or the Righteous Initiate. So Elmios is deciding where exactly he wants to go. At planet number 1, he'll probably be able to kill that copy of Possessed. If he needs to, he could move his Sword Brethren Dreadnought. If Mavros shows up at planet number 2, he might be able to seal that for him to be able to win it the following round, and then he could pick up planet 2 and 4, and that would be a victory for him. Planet number 3, he would be able to win command versus making it being a tie, but he doesn't have, like, he's got a fair few cards. I don't know how much value necessarily there is to get from triggering Eloith's battle ability, and then he could also try and win Planum, but he'd be dropping off his Righteous Initiate with its attachment pretty far removed from any kind of combat-relevant planet, so I would not be surprised to see both of our players commit their respective Warlords to planet number 1, or I guess 2 isn't looking like a great destination, because Ku'gath is going to be annihilating all of his own forces because he'll have 2 copies of Nurglings at that planet, and that's going to be a ton of damage going out, all determined by Mavros. So it looks like those Nurglings are kind of coming back to bite Ku'gath in the ass, and for that reason, planet number 3 is also going to be a little bit of a dangerous prospect for him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Ku'gath arrive at planet number 1, but I suppose let's go ahead and just see what exactly our players decide on. All right, so that is the command dial face down. I believe both players have chosen. If Elmios is decided, both players have indicated that they are done, and now let's go ahead and see those dials. Ku'gath, it's going to be planet number 1. Mavros, interestingly enough, it's going to be planet number 5. So I'll be curious if during command we see Mavros use his ability to ping the Sword Brethren Dreadnought. It triggers the ability of Karnath to replicate the battle ability of Planum, and then it moves itself to planet number 1 to contest Ku'gath Plaguefather's presence at that planet, just because that may be a good opportunity for Mavros to try to kill off some of these units. So we're going to be seeing these Nurglings deal damage here. So Elmios is deciding, yes, it's going to be a point of damage killing the Incubus Warrior. It's going to be a point of damage dealt to the Void Pirate. Is that going to be a shield or not? If the Void Pirate is preserved, then that's going to be another card drawn. So it could basically be like Ku'gath exchanging one of his copies of Backlash, and that is going to be the case for another card drawn randomly from the top of his deck here. So the Ku'gath's Nurglings are now going to deal a point of damage to Ku'gath, and then the Nurglings are going to finish things off by dealing a point of damage to themselves. So it looks like the Ku'gath's Nurglings are dead. Ku'gath has taken a point of damage. Now our players are going to end up winning command, and I'll be curious to see if during the command phase we see that Sword Brethren Dreadnought do anything. Goboxel ends up winning 3 cards and 2 resources, and he ends up getting another copy of Archon's Terror, which could quite handily remove this copy of Sword Brethren Dreadnought or the White Scars Biker, although Ku'gath is going to have an opportunity to attack with his Possessed for 9, and elmios does have an adequate number of resources with which to use Indomitable to preserve the life of White Scars Bikers, so we'll just kind of have to see what didn't happen. So let's see. I will just say player with initiative decides. And my bad about the typo there, because I had to reach around my microphone to type. So let's see. For elmios, he ended up getting 3 cards and 1 resource. He's now got an Elysian Assault Team in hand, as well as a Sakhalem Shrine Guard, so he's quite clearly allied with the Astra Militarum at this point, which I guess I didn't realize when we saw this Sanctioned Psyker see play, or at least I didn't, make too much of a mental note of it prior to seeing any, powerful Astra Militarum style combat tricks. At planet number 1, we're now going to be seeing battle if we do not see any command phase actions. And I believe if we were to see this Sword Brethren Dreadnought shifted from planet to planet, I suppose you may want to do until you may want to wait to do so until your opponent is left in some sort of a compromised position here. And yeah, this is kind of the reason why I don't like spectators in my game. elmios is clearly trying to focus on the game at hand, and he's not trying to deal with a bunch of spectators like myself leaving comments. So I guess let's see combat at the first round. Ku'gath with initiative is going to deliver an attack onto the White Scars Bikers. It's going to be a point of damage shifted onto the Bikers, and the Bikers are going to be the recipient of an attack. So that is not going to outright kill them, but will we see a shield or not? So Ku'gath has assigned, moved a damage, and now he's going to be assigning a point of damage. For our Space Marine player, really the best thing he can hope for is an attack, say against the Possessed, and then we see a shield used, and then we see no mercy result in the Possessed being killed. Another option would be goboxel using Archon's Terror to remove the White Scars Bikers from that planet, but I definitely would not expect to be going up against No Mercy in a Space Marine deck, so that could definitely come back and be a little bit frustrating if the White Scars Bikers unexpectedly does manage to score a kill on these possessed Chaos Space Marines. So we see a copy of Promotion discarded to preserve the fragile viscera of the White Scars Bikers, I suppose in case goboxel was holding on to a copy of Tzeentch's Firestorm or something like that. Goboxel indicates that he does not have any actions, and let's see if we're going to have this unit swing or not. White Scars Bikers are a decent choice against Chaos just because they've got a fair few hit points about them relative to something like an Honored Librarian, and even if a unit has like base 4 attack value, if it does not survive long enough to get off an attack, then that is absolutely no good whatsoever. So what exactly are we going to be seeing here? Are we going to see any actions? elmios is waiting on whether or not he wants to use an action. Just remember that Chaplain Mavros at any point can deal a point of damage to the Sword Brethren Dreadnought. It could trigger the battle ability of Iridial to heal the White Scars Bikers, or we could trigger the battle ability of Planum to move the Sword Brethren Dreadnought to planet number 1, but I think it's going to be a relatively straightforward affair to end up seeing this Possessed killed. So White Scars Bikers is going to end up taking a point of damage from Mavros' abilities, so it's now going to be able to swing for 5, and I can only imagine it's going hunting for this copy of Possessed here. So we see Corrupted Teleportarium used. The Possessed is going to be moved to Chaplain Mavros' planet, so very interesting that we would see that used. And now, are we going to see that copy of Archon's Terror remove the White Scars Biker from the planet? Goboxel indicates that he does not have any action, and that's going to be this White Scars Biker taking a swing at Ku'gath Plaguefather, so Ku'gath is going to end up taking a total of 5 points of damage. He's going to be at a total of 6. We do see a copy of Backlash used. We do have a copy of Crushing Blow, but that is going to be a copy of No Mercy. So that is going to be 5 and 6, and that is going to be a copy of Ku'gath Plaguefather outright bloodied by that effect. So doesn't that about suck for poor Ku'gath at that planet? But now he's going to have to deal with this White Scars Bikers with no more than a mere rogue trader at this planet. He could use Archon's Terror to remove the White Scars Biker from this location and end up winning that planet, and I suppose if he does, that'll be another green strongpoint icon added to his victory display, but then he's going to have to win another 2 blue planets or 2 red planets or 1 green planet to be able to end up winning the game. And now Ku'gath is a mere 1/5 with no reaction whatsoever is going to be a rather dangerous prospect for goboxel to kind of find himself in. So, interestingly enough, we could still see Mavros deal a point of damage to the Sword Brethren Dreadnought and move it to Planum, and it will have the opportunity to attack prior to this copy of Possessed. And if the Dreadnought is going to be able to attack for 5 and the Possessed only has 4 HP, unless we see Archon's Terror used to remove that Sword Brethren Dreadnought, that could be a dead copy of Possessed regardless, so things are not looking too great all of a sudden for goboxel here. And now, what exactly are we seeing? Elmios calls out that it's the action for goboxel. Goboxel's only got this rogue trader to attack with. He does have Archon's Terror in hand, and this is where things are going to get pretty interesting indeed. So there's not going to be any action by goboxel. That is going to be the rogue trader swinging for a grand total of 0, and even if somehow we were to see this White Scars Biker destroyed, we've got Elysian Assault Team that could drop into play. We've still got a copy of Eager Recruit, and it looks like at this moment Elmios is a little bit in the driver's seat despite this fantastic advantage economically that our Chaos player has kind of established himself with. So, planet number 1 is about to be captured by Elmios at the top of our screen. I presume that's going to be 2 points of damage removed from the White Scars Bikers, as opposed to 1 point from this Righteous Initiate. Yes, Iridial is going to expunge that unit, purge it of damage, and it's going to be moved to his HQ. Iridial is going to be captured by our Space Marines. Now that's going to be 2 red icons, so it's entirely possible that during the following round we might see our Space Marine player win at this, soon-to-be first planet. So it looks like that was maybe a little bit of an upset. Things were going so well for goboxel, and now all of a sudden they are somewhat crumpling. We've got a battle about to take place here at planet number 4, and what exactly are we going to be seeing? We've got a copy of Indomitable that is nicely going to be able to block off this attack of the Possessed. We could relocate the Sword Brethren Dreadnought to kill the Possessed, and then upon kind of the conclusion of the battle, we could see Planum activated again to move the Sword Brethren Dreadnought back to our soon-to-be planet number 1. And let's see what happens here. I suppose if this were me, I'd presume it would be I would move the Sword Brethren Dreadnought to this planet, and I would do the attack. Looks like Elmios says he should, but he's passed. goboxel says that he can use his action if he wants, and it looks like this is going to be the Sword Brethren Dreadnought being moved to this planet, but it's likely going to be Archon's Terror removing it. Yes, that is going to be Chaplain Mavros pinging the Sword Brethren Dreadnought. It's actually going to be activating Karnath's battle ability, so the White Scars Biker is going to be the unit moved to that planet, and not the Sword Brethren Dreadnought. Very interesting choice there, but I suppose that works about as well. It's going to be able to attack for a total of 4, because a Warlord is present. That is going to be enough to kill off that copy of Possessed, but we've got a copy of Archon's Terror that could handily remove the White Scars Biker from that planet, but we've also got a copy of Elysian Assault Team, we've got a copy of Indomitable, and we've also got a copy of Eager Recruit, which unfortunately is not a soldier or warrior, so it doesn't combo with Elysian Assault Team, but regardless, Archon's Terror is played. The White Scars Biker, I guess, had its brief appearance at planet number 5 canceled, because it's now routed back to the HQ, albeit now exhausted. And what are we going to be seeing? Is it going to be, I guess we could see an Eager Recruit drop into play, but it's only going to be able to attack for 2. We could see Chaplain Mavros take an attack from the Possessed, but Indomitable is going to be a thing. Both of our players have passed on their actions. That is going to be Chaplain Mavros dealing with that attack value of 9, but of course, Indomitable is going to be an option to deter crushing claws of that copy of Possessed, and unlike as is depicted in the card art, Chaplain Mavros's helmet-adorned skull is not going to be pinched by the Possessed Chaos Space Marine there, so Indomitable blocks that. Are we going to see a copy of Eager Recruit? Eager Recruit could attack for 2, and then do note that Mavros has got initiative, so he could attack again with the Recruit or with his Warlord, or he could have the Recruit attack again. Like, there's a lot of different options here for elmios. So I suppose we could see Eager Recruit dropped into play. It could attack the Possessed for 2. We don't have any shield cards left for goboxel, so that could be a damaged copy of Possessed. Then the combat round ends. Our Space Marine still has initiative. Eager Recruit could attack again unless it's killed by the Splintered Path Acolyte, but if that's the case, we've got this copy of Vow of Honor, which could be used as a shield, and of course, we've also got this copy of Corrupted Teleportarium that is not exhausted to be used to move Possessed from that planet. So elmios is considering whether or not he wants to use an action. He's certainly afforded the luxury of a great many different options. We do see that Eager Recruit being dropped into play, and I can only imagine the Eager Recruit is going to be attacking that copy of Possessed unless we see the Possessed moved by the Corrupted Teleportarium, and if it is indeed moved by the Corrupted Teleportarium, then I can only imagine that's going to be the Eager Recruit killing off this copy of the Splintered Path Acolyte. So, the Eager Recruit is going to be exhausting, and I presume it'll be attacking the Possessed, because Mavros is going to be fresh out of Indomitables, and if he's going to be retreating at the end of the combat round, then that might be a sterling opportunity for him to the Eager Recruit is going to be killed, and now it's going to be up to Mavros. Does he want to stay at this planet or not? What kind of sucks is, I suppose what you could do is the Eager Recruit is either going to die, or we'll see Vow of Honor used to shield it. If we don't see the Eager Recruit shielded, we could see Mavros retreat, and then the Righteous Initiate could kill the Splintered Path Acolyte, and then the Possessed could be skewered upon the Righteous Initiate. So it looks like that's the gamble that elmios is going for. He's essentially gambling that his opponent has run out of shield cards, although I imagine we're going to be seeing the Possessed relocated by a Corrupted Teleportarium. At the end of combat, that is going to be the Splintered Path Acolyte retreating, and that is going to be the Possessed moved from planet number 5 to planet number 4. That's going to be a battle won by the Righteous Initiate, and now it's going to be Planum activating. I can only imagine that it's going to be either the White Scars Bikers or the Righteous Initiate itself, moved from HQ or planet number 5 to our soon-to-be planet number 1, which is the victory condition planet for elmios. White Scars Biker is going to be dropped off at that planet. So it looks like Righteous Initiate is presumably going to be winning command on that planet. We're about to go through another HQ phase here. The White Scars Bikers does take a point of damage thanks to this Ku'gath's Nurgling, which is a good catch for our player to have done. That's another HQ phase. We've got 2 cards, 4 resources for each player. goboxel, who's now fighting an uphill battle here. He got a copy of Slaaneash's Temptation, this is not the time to see that card, although it does have 2 shields. And he also got a copy of Tzeentch's Firestorm in the context of having 6 resources. So, the first time the Sword Brethren Dreadnought takes damage, it's going to be able to trigger Karnath, which could ping Planum and move the Righteous Initiate to this planet. If you do that favorably, when you've got, like, it's your combat turn, it could be the Righteous Initiate moving to this planet. It takes a point of damage from the Ku'gath Snurglings. It gets +3 attack. Unstoppable prevents it from being killed, and then you can attack for 3, and then you've got the luxury of the Black Sword sitting at that planet. Elmios uses his remaining resources after the Slaanesha's Temptation is played to planet number 3 to drop a Blood Angels Veterans at planet number 1. We've got a 3 shield value card in Elmios' hand. We've also got a copy of Vow of Honor. It's going to be 3, 4, 5 command icons versus presumably 3, and that is going to mean that Vow of Honor is going to be a giant thorn in Ku'gath's side. If Ku'gath shows up to planet number 1, that's going to be a likely dead Rogue Trader, dead Void Pirate, dead Splintered Path Acolyte, 4 hit point Warlord. Ku'gath is going to have to use his action to retreat, so Ku'gath may as well just dodge the first planet entirely because he's bloodied, and now it looks like this game is almost unstoppably, inevitably going to be won by Elmios here, so I suppose let's see how things end up winding down. All that we've got for Ku'gath to do is this copy of Tzeentch's Firestorm, but that is not going to be enough. Tzeentch's Firestorm could handily kill this White Scars biker or something, but I mean, I guess if you were to deal it 4 points of damage, we could even see the Ancient Crozius Arcanum discarded as a shield to turn that to 1 damage, and then the White Scars biker survives. So between Mavros pinging the Brethren Dreadnought, moving Righteous Initiate to this planet, it attacks for 3, there's the Black Sword, there's the Blood Angels Veterans, there's the White Scars biker attacking for 4, there's Mavros himself, which is a 2/7 Warlord, and all of this is in the context of, also there's this 5/6, all of this is in the context of Ku'gath not being able to do really anything to resist the Space Marine at this point. It's just looking like this is about to be a crushing defeat. We've got the Rogue Trader played out to planet number 4, looks like to the bitter end. Ku'gath is attempting to deny his opponent economy. It looks like he changes his mind. It's instead going to be at planet number 2 to win a resource and 2 cards for him. So, Blood Angels Veterans is going to be pinged by Mavros, and, you know, it's not like Elmios is really holding on to any cards or anything like that, but I guess you may as well ping the Blood Angels Veterans just to deploy stall your opponent just for the sheer fun of it. So, both of our players are going to be sending their warlords somewhere. Mavros is going to be showing up, I assume, at planet number 1, just because he's such a formidable body, and he can work with Vow of Honor fantastically, and he'll have at least 1 resource to do that. Or we could see Mavros show up at planet number 2 just to ensure that he's going to be able to win command. Well, no, I guess he won't. I assume Ku'gath is going to be, well, God, if Ku'gath goes to planet number 2, then this copy of Ku'gath Snurglings is potentially going to kill his Void Pirate, his Rogue Trader, and his Splintered Path Acolyte, so it's all going to come down to maybe Ku'gath is going to show up at planet number 2 to ensure that he can win 2 cards and 1 resource, and then maybe Chaplain Mavros is going to be showing up to planet number 2 just on the off chance that he can win another couple of cards for himself. But it's going to be interesting, I suppose, to see where exactly these warlords go. I don't really think that Ku'gath has any hope of salvaging victory at this point, even with this copy of Possessed, which can be relocated to planet number 1. It's going to be counting as having been moved. Ku'gath's Snurglings is going to deal it a point of damage, and all right, looks like Mavros is going to be showing up to planet number 1. Ku'gath instead is going to be showing up at planet number 4. So that is going to be, what exactly are we going to be seeing here? That's actually a fair few command struggles won by, I'm sorry, I guess 2 + 2 is 4. So I was doing my mathematics wrong. Math is hard. We've got Promise of Glory. Okay, so let's just say Elmios is going to be 1 card, 1 resource, but God, he drew a copy of Indomitable, which is going to be great against this copy of Possessed. And if Elmios had any chance, if goboxel had any chance, I would now say his odds are 0. But it's going to be 3 cards and 3 resources won by Ku'gath, thanks to the Rogue Trader, Void Pirate, the other Rogue Trader, and Ku'gath's clever deployment, or committance. He's got a 3 shield value card, 2 shield value cards, and a 1 shield value card. But all of this is going to be in the face of some really overwhelming odds. So we're going to see a battle at planet number 1. It's going to be no more than the Ku'gath Nurglings and the Possessed fighting those Nurglings. White Scar's Bikers swings for 4. The Nurglings are killed, and now I can only imagine we'll see the Corrupted Teleportarium move the Possessed to that planet. Now that they're not going to take a point of damage, I would imagine they will swing at, maybe, is it going to be Mavros? Is it going to be the Sword Brethren Dreadnought? Regardless, we've got Indomitable as an option, and we're about to see the GG right here, but this is going to be the Possessed taking a swing at the Sword Brethren Dreadnought. Let's go ahead and see that Indomitable, because I suppose our Chaos player is quickly going to be running out of options. We do see the Indomitable right there, so what is it going to be? There we go. Goboxel calls out the GG, so despite a just glut of shield cards in hand, we could have seen Mavros ping the Sword Brethren Dreadnought. That could have been the Righteous Initiate moving to this planet. It could have attacked for 1. The Dreadnought could have attacked for 5. The Blood Angels Veterans could have attacked for 3, Mavros could have attacked himself for 2, and he also could have used his ability to augment any of his own units here at Karnath, and he had a 3 shield value card in hand, and he had Vow of Honor as a 1 shield value card, and he also had an Elysian Assault team as well. So, a tremendous congratulations to Elmios for advancing to the top 8 of the Spring 2016 season of Sam Mann's Black Crusade, his online Conquest LCG competitive league. Elmios did indicate going into this match that his connection is a little bit shaky, and it looks like he waited until the absolute most opportune moment to inadvertently, unintentionally lose his connection here. So, Goboxel concedes, but that does not change the fact that he played a spectacular game with Ku'gath Plaguefather, but in the end, Chaplain Mavros' cuisine did reign supreme, so congratulations to our Space Marine. Thank you for watching, dear viewers, and as always, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, as ever you're encouraged to share this content. So the more engagement these videos receive, more people see Conquest, they may try the game, join our community, and it's all the more reason for Fantasy Flight Games to continue to support and develop this fantastic product. Get in touch with me on Facebook and on Twitter, and if you ever have any inclination to help support this channel, I would be absolutely honored, humbled, and deeply appreciative were you to even consider donating a single dollar on a strictly monthly basis to me through my Patreon. So, once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.